Brilliance Audio presents Miracle on 10th Street and Other Christmas Writings by Madeleine L'Engle, performed by Pamela Almond. Sister Egg left the convent with a shopping cart. Over her simple habit, she wore a heavy hooded woolen cape. Even so, she shivered as the convent door shut behind her, and she headed into the northeast wind. There was a smell of snow in the air, and while it would be pleasant to have a white Christmas, she dreaded the inevitable filthy drifts and slush that would follow a city snow. She dreaded putting on galoshes, but she would enjoy doing her share of shoveling the snow off the sidewalk. The 25-pound turkey was waiting in the pantry, but she needed to get cranberries and oranges for relish, and maybe even some olives to go with the celery sticks. There's only one Christmas a year, and it needs to be enjoyed and celebrated. She pulled her cape more closely about her. In her mind, she started counting the weeks till August. The first 2 weeks of August were her rest time, when she went to her brother's seaside cottage and swam in the ocean. And for her, that time was always transfigured and gave her strength to come back to the Upper West Side of New York City. "Hi, Sister Egg." It was the small child of the Taiwanese shopkeeper from whom she always bought garlic, because he had the best garlic in the city. The child rushed at her and leaped into her arms, pushing the empty market cart aside. Sister Egg caught the little boy, barely managing not to fall over backward, and gave him a big hug. "What you doing?" the little boy asked. "Christmas shopping." "Presents?" "No, food, goodies." And she reached into her pocket and drew out one of the rather crumbly cookies she kept there for emergencies such as this. The little boy stuffed the cookie into his mouth, thereby rendering himself speechless, and Sister Egg walked on. The vegetable stand she was heading toward was across Broadway, so she turned at the corner and crossed the first half of the street. Then the light turned red, so she stopped at the island. In Sister Egg's neighborhood, islands ran down the center of Broadway, islands that were radiant with magnolia blossoms in the spring, followed by tulips and delicately leafing trees. By August, the green was dull and drooping from the heat. In December, all the branches were bare and bleak. She stood on the island, waiting for the light to change. She, too, felt bare and bleak. She felt in need of hope, but of hope for what she was not sure. She had long since come to terms with the fact that faith is not a steady, ever-flowing stream, but that it runs over rock beds, is sometimes dry, sometimes overflows to the point of drowning. Right now it was dry, drier than the cold wind that promised snow. "Hi, Sister Egg." She turned to see a bundle of clothes on one of the benches reveal itself to be an old woman with her small brown dog on her lap, only the dog's head showing, so wrapped were woman and dog in an old brown blanket. "Hello, Mrs. Brown." Sister Egg tried to smile. It was Christmas Eve, and no one should spend it wrapped in an inadequate blanket, sitting on a bare island on Upper Broadway. But she had learned long ago that she could not bring every waif and stray she saw out in the streets back to the convent. It was not that anybody thought it was a bad idea. It was just that the sisters were not equipped to handle what would likely be hundreds of people, hungry in body and spirit. They had taken pains to learn of every available shelter and hostel, and the hours of all the soup kitchens. Sister Egg had tried to get this particular old woman into a home for the elderly, with no success. Mrs. Brown had her share of a room in a single-room occupancy building. She had her dog and her independence, and she was going to keep both. From the opposite bench came a male voice, and another bundle of clothes revealed itself to be a man whose age was anybody's guess. "Sister what?" "Oh." Sister Egg looked at him flustered. "Sister Egg," the old woman announced triumphantly. "Sister Egg? Who ever heard of a sister named Egg? What are you, some kind of nut?" The scowl took over the man's body in the ancient threadbare coat as well as his face, which was partly concealed by a dark woolen cap. Sister Egg's cheeks were pink. "My real name is Sister Freitswide.